Welcome to the next Oneiro devlog. This version is 077, and I actually am coming out with this video a bit earlier than the other ones. So because of this time that I'm sending it out, I have only 2 major additions for this version, and I will get into an explanation for that a bit later. So the first major addition I added in this version was alternative attacks, if you can even read that on the camera. Yeah, kind of. Now, alternative attacks are exactly how they sound. They're different attacks for different weapon types. So all swords are going to have the same alternative attack, all spears are going to have the same, and yada yada. The alternative attacks add in just a bit of an extra layer of depth into the combat. So to start us off, we have the sword, which is a 2-hit alternative attack. The first hit slams the enemy with the hilt of the sword, and then the second hit is a follow-up stab, like a lunging stab forward. And the first hit of this move actually inflicts paralysis onto an enemy. And this is a new little status effect that I added, and what it does is it just prohibits all the AI from the enemy for a time being, and then it calls them to shake in place to visualize the paralysis, I suppose is the best way to put it. Now the next weapon that I'd like to talk about is the sledgehammer. The hammer is also a 2-part alternative attack here. The hammer starts off with an underhand swing that launches the enemies upwards, and then it follows up quickly with a slam to the ground. Now the ground slam with the hammer actually causes a small shockwave, pretty similar to the golem. However, this is on the player's side, so it doesn't actually hurt the player, it actually launches the other enemies away, and it's a pretty good defensive mechanism, but it's also packing a lot of power behind it. The alternative attack for the spear allows you to just throw the spear. It impales enemies, impales walls, and you're able to actually step on the spear that's been impaled into a wall, and you can actually climb up. So it's kind of like a utility. And if you impale an enemy with it, you can actually take it out and it deals extra damage, as like you're just taking out a lodged spear from the enemy. The only other weapon to mention is the karambit. So the alternative attack for the karambit is actually a counter. So performing the counter with the karambit will actually prohibit all damage done to you, and if the damage is done to you by an enemy, the game will attempt to teleport you right at the enemy, cause you to look at the enemy, and then perform a quick stab that you can actually link into the normal combo. So all of that is covering the alternative attacks, which I should also mention that there's some weapons like the torch that just can't perform these alternative attacks. Each weapon can charge up for a certain amount of time. Like the sword has a different charge time than the hammer. It also has a different multiplier for the damage if you were to charge it up all the way. And some weapons can be charged infinitely, kind of like the spear throwing. Though the spear throwing is a bit different because it's not going to actually increase the damage, but it'll let you prepare to throw it so that you can throw it sooner, as opposed to if you just try to throw it out of the blue. So the next thing I was going to mention, I don't know why this one's so much larger than the other one, but it's fine. So the other big thing I added in this version are the spike traps that generate around the labyrinth. These can generate along the floor or along the walls, and they detect if there's a player movement within their area, and then they will deploy and impale the player. So impaling the player actually causes them to lose all movement, all attacks, and they can't really do anything until the spike trap actually retracts back into itself. Now, earlier in the video, I did mention that there's only 2 major additions, and I had wanted to explain a little bit further about why I didn't want to add a third one quite yet. The next biggest addition I want to add to the game is consumable items, which they should without a doubt be coming in the next version here, 078. Now, the issue with adding those, with the season, with the holidays coming up, with the different events and parties that my family needs to go to, I'm not completely sure about when I can get the consumable items out there. I don't know if that would have delayed the version even further than a month. I don't want a repeat of 076 because that took 2 months to get out. So I decided against adding the consumable items because that's an entirely other system. It would have taken me quite a while to actually get that going correctly. As for other minor additions, or less major, like maybe adding another enemy, adding like pitfalls or something, something other than spike traps that still classify as labyrinth traps. I didn't add those because I figured that the first labyrinth is just getting jam-packed with a bunch of stuff. And I didn't want to throw all of that at newcomers who are going to see this game for the first time in version 077. It would have just been too much for them, I think, and it's just kind of thrown at you all at once in that first labyrinth. So I wanted to get around to making the second, making the third labyrinth, and then kind of throw in more additions into it so that the first one doesn't just become a cluster. So with all of that out of the way, thank you for watching this devlog. I'm going to throw in a few clips at the end of this devlog just to show off the alternative attacks and the spike traps and everything like that. And I hope you enjoy 077.